SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Former Entain executive Grainne Hurst has begun her tenure as a new chief executive of the Betting and Gaming Council, succeeding Michael Dugher. An expert in public affairs and corporate responsibilities, how will Hurst represent and guide UK gambling through the concluding phase of the UK gambling review? Hurst maintains that the BGC will prioritise stability, growth and diversity to govern gambling, as outstanding regulatory settlements are to be concluded on the framework of the Consumer Ombudsman and the RET Levy, requiring the BGC's input. Furthermore, as the subsequent leader of the BGC, how will Hurst reshape the trade body's future vision and values beyond the gambling review to maintain trust and stability with all stakeholders? I'm your host for today, Viktor Kayed, and I'm joined by SBC Media Content Director Ted Menmuir to go over the latest developments. But before that, a message from our sponsor, Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. As a special offer, Optimove is giving away a free first month to new clients. For more information and to claim the offer, go to optimove.com/SBC. Links will also be left in the podcast episode description below. So, Ted, hello. Nice to have you here with me today. How are you doing?
Very well, Victor. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm looking forward to discussing what we have to talk about today. So going straight into my first question, 2024 has been a year of leadership changes at the BGC. Can you recount them for the audiences?
Okay, so let's track back to the start of the year. The Betting and Gaming Council announced the departure of Bridget Simmons as inaugural chair of the trade body for UK gambling. The decision saw CEO Michael Dugher take the role of chair, as the trade body expected 2024 to be the year the gambling review resolutions are finally settled on. Last April, the BGC announced the appointment of Grainne Hurst as the standout candidate to take over the role of CEO. And coming into 2025, the BGC will celebrate its 5th anniversary, having replaced the functions of the Remote Gambling Association, the RGA, and the Association of British Bookmakers, ABB, in 2022 as the kind of unified trade body for UK gambling. And 2020, of course, was the year that the government initiated the gambling review. And to summarise, it's been a long haul for the BGC since then, and in some ways, the appointment of Hurst is needed to give the BGC kind of a post-review vision and refresh. Her movements are being kind of observed very closely.
Mm-hmm. And she comes from role at Entain. She was a group corporate affairs director there, and also while she was there, she launched the sustainability project Entain Foundation, which invested a total of £100 million of ESG initiatives. Can you tell us why she is a standout candidate for the BGC?
Okay, so as you mentioned, Grainne Hurst is the former group corporate affairs director of Entain plc. And of distinction during her tenure, I think it was for 5 or 6 years tenure at Entain, she established a global foundation program generating 100 million in environmental, social, and governance directives across the FTSE operators' active markets. Right, so we're talking about Africa, New Zealand, South America, the US. She's also been a figurehead in promoting diversity, inclusion, and equality directives in the industry as a board member of the Women in Gaming. But I think what makes her kind of a standout for the BGC is just her deep experience in corporate governance and public affairs and government policies. Prior to joining the industry, she served as a special advisor to the government. I think she advised the MP Philip Davis, and she served as a public affairs lead for ASDA of significance is that she knows kind of the inner workings of Parliament, how what MPs are kind of factoring in when they're legislating new rules or industry directives. And I think the BGC kind of recognizes that it needs kind of a new or a fresh face to represent an industry that of 110,000 jobs and one that generates 4.2 billion in tax.
Mm-hmm. And as we've covered before, and as it's pretty clear, Hurst takes over from Michael Dugher, who did not shy away from a political debate, especially when it comes to the gambling review. I guess being outspoken in support of the industry is kind of a given when you're the CEO of the BGC. But do you think Hurst's appointment will point the BGC in a new direction, less politically focused than Dugher's tenure?
Well, I think that in answer to this question, we have to reflect the journey of the BGC and how its remit has evolved from its foundation in 2020. You're right. As a CEO, kind of Dugher had really had to stand up and fight for the industry's corner. And I believe that and a lot of times he did not have the support from PLC leadership. Maybe that's a place where Hurst will want to look at. Dugher kind of even admitted that he did not expect the role of CEO to be kind of this politicized. One thing to consider is that UK gambling has changed wholesale since 2020. You can even look at the changes of the UK Gambling Commission under the leadership of Andrew Rhodes. He too admitted that he did not expect gambling to be this politicized. From my kind of point of view, a dynamic that is often forgotten is that the BGC is a young trade body, and it's representing gambling at a point of inflection, a point of rupture with deep changes in the makeup of the sector, both regulatory and commercially. However, since 2020, it's become a much slicker organization. I think that Grainne will have a much deeper resources than Dugher had available.
Taking on the leadership, what are the remaining white paper settlements of the gambling review, and can the BGC have any real input?
Yes, it can. And this is going to be the real test for Hurst's leadership on how gambling operators respond to upcoming changes. As we all know, look, the affordability tests we all know are undertaking their pilots, and they're being observed by operators with the majority already coordinating changes. The remaining duties that the BGC can influence is the framework of the RET Levy, in which supporting third parties needs to be maintained, and also their funding. What has to be taken into account is that on the RET Levy, the industry must really be careful of what gets modified. The framework has worked. It's got support to vulnerable players. If we then move on to the consumer ombudsman, I think this is going to be kind of technically very hard to implement and will require kind of a lot of cross-coordination between UK operators of all sizes. The final segment, and one that's been left out of the Gambling Review's white paper, is that the BGC has to renegotiate the UK racing's levy terms with the British Horse Racing Association. So what gets funded through to UK racing from betting wagers. It's a political role, and there's going to be steep demands on new leadership.
And once all these things have been completed and this kind of settles down, post-gambling review, how do you think the BGC will be reshaped, and what initiatives will it take to represent UK gambling?
I think this is actually where Grainne and the BGC's governance should look and think about this as a kind of blank canvas of how to represent UK gambling post-review in what should be kind of a less kind of politicized arena as the regulations come through and as operators adapt to kind of the new laws. Now, I think kind of one of the points of focus will be to regain kind of consumer trust, which has kind of been rocked over the last 4 years. Also, I think she mentioned it in her opening statement that she wants diversity to play a part of the progress of UK gambling. So I think that that will be kind of a point of focus for the BGC, how to broaden kind of the commitment of UK gambling, its profile, and also who is involved in the industry. Finally, I'd also like the BGC to kind of coordinate better with leadership. So yes, they are the voice for the gambling, for UK gambling, but perhaps they require kind of a more active response from PLC leaders.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you a bit of a rapid question on my side on this topic. While we're on this topic, what has Hurst? What does she have to be careful about in her new tenure, do you think? What does she has to watch out for and avoid, turmoil?
Well, look, I think there's going to be an adjustment period. I think the process of everyone in the UK gambling industry wants a resolution coming in the next 6-month period. They don't want this going on into kind of 2025 because it would be, half a decade of kind of in conclusion with regards to what are the terms of play for the industry. I think there is kind of an essence on speed and actually getting to the point of settlement as it appears now. The other thing is I think post-review is, looking and making sure that UK gambling has kind of a unified voice or a unified structure to contend with its future challenges. The other thing about the Betting and Gaming Council is that I think UK gambling has evolved, but it has to kind of represent the future makeup of the industry. And within that, not just the PLCs, but every type of operator within UK gambling sphere. It's a tricky job.
Mm-hmm. And there you have it, our Ted's opinion on what's to come for BGC. Thank you for these insights. We wish, of course, Ms. Hurst best of luck in her new role. And on that note, we're going to end it here. Thanks, Ted, for joining me today for iGaming Daily. I was Viktor Kayed, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.